decisions for us as citizens. And so we got a lot to talk about. And first, I think people need to understand who I'm talking to. And so, I have 1 hour a week to do my research, 1 hour a week on this show to bring you guys all the information. And I really try to get it right because I don't like the media, even though I'm a part of it. And part of the reason I don't like it is because you can say anything you want about anybody and you don't have to be accountable. So when I give my opinions, I want to be as close to factual as I can so that you can make a decision. I'm not here to sway you one way or the other. I'm not here to bring you over to my side. But I feel like if I give you the information and you're able to make an informed decision, I'm doing the best I can on this radio show. So part of that is I have a beef with the commission, and that's no secret. And it's in the area of DEI. It's in the area of budgeting. And I have Mr. Commissioner Kolpak here, and he's been on the commission for what, 20 years?
15.
15 years. So you're like the most senior of everybody.
Yes, I am.
So there are some things that when we start connecting dots, they lead back to you. So why wouldn't I have you on this show? But before we get started, I have to tell you guys something. So I was at Moorhead State 85 to 91. I know that's 6 years. People don't do the math. I was a poor student. It is what it is. That's another story for another day. But in doing my research on this show, I had to look at Commissioner Kolpak's
Commissioner Pepcorn.
What did I call you?
Kolpak, that's okay.
Oh, my God. We're starting off hot, baby.
That's all right.
Commissioner, you guys will forgive me. I did not take my medicine, and I'm hyped up. So anyway, I'm looking at your bio, and you are, Commissioner Pepcorn is a Bison legend, okay? And that doesn't come lightly because in doing my research, I reached out to some former players. And one of my good friends is Dr. Mike Favor. I believe it's doctor, and he's in Minneapolis. And I've known Mike Favor since we've gone to church at New Salem Baptist Church in Minneapolis as young shavers. And he told me to tell you personally, I love you, man.
I love him.
He said he patterns a lot of, he wanted to be the Bison example that you set.
Wow.
Okay? And he talked about the fact that you took people under your wing and you had this big picnic every year and you would take all the guys out. And that was the beginning of understanding the Bison standard, okay? Understanding you're a part of a family and you're a part of something bigger than yourself. And I can tell you that is diametrically opposed to what we see in the city commission. And I tell you, I'm like, what the? And it shook me because I'm ready to come in here loaded for bear. And I thought, there are a lot of people that have their opinion of who I am on the radio, okay? And they have no idea who I am behind the scenes, who I am when I'm at home, okay? And I had another person talk about if they saw the love that you have for your family and your son, Yep. And I'm like, so I'm trying to figure out who's this Commissioner Pepcorn that's making all these decisions that I don't agree with versus who you are not on the commission. And so we're going to talk about that because you are doing things that I look at and I can't understand because, and we'll jump right into it. For me, DEI, I tried to understand what was behind hiring Dr. Hogan with no plan.
Well, if you look back, you can look back at my record, and I voted against that because that was purely emotion. That was emotion of the moment, and so. But I have some good news. The DEI is going to be eliminated at our next commission meeting. So that's the good news, and for the taxpayers.
Well, it's good news for you, but there are 30,000 minority immigrants and military people in this community that see him as a benefit, okay? And the outreach that he's had in these communities has been vast. And so there's a disconnect because I'm one of those people that I've seen him go in the community, and I have people call me as a radio host that say, we like the work that Dr. Hogan has done. We like what he's doing in the community, and they're having a hard time fathoming why the commission doesn't see these things. Now, in his 2.5 years here, I said that it was understaffed, underfunded, and poorly implemented. Well, who does that fall on? If we're spending the money, why wasn't this thing done better?
So I'll just give you my answer. We don't discriminate in the city of Fargo. It's if we did, we would get sued, and we hire based on merit. That's it, and that's what makes our country great. They're literally we do assessments of what the performance is. There hasn't been anything. What are the successes? And so it should have never happened at the beginning. And it's just and the other thing is we're spending the public tax dollar, and you can't just spend it to feel good about yourself. And so if you had performance showing here's what's happened, then that's different. But that is not the case.
Okay. As I look at the climate assessment, okay, as well as the environmental scans, those were done, but they weren't talked about in any meaningful way. So it's like I'm wondering now, looking at the information, there's a disconnect. And so I want to know, like after a year when Denise Kopech came on the radio and she said, well, we haven't seen much of anything. And Arlette Preston came on and she said, but we're going to fix it. So at this point, we all admitted that we did things wrong, right? That it wasn't implemented and all of that. So in the coming year, which was this past year, my expectation was that we would see some meaningful change to the office because the commission was going to have a hand in it, okay? I have a business, you have a business, okay? If I have a supervisor that's not doing his job and I have to intervene, we're going to set up a plan whereby this thing succeeds. It doesn't look like there was a plan put in place for this thing to succeed. So then if we're electing officials that aren't doing this, what do I do as a citizen? Because to me, there was a lot of outreach that was done by Dr. Hogan. And so it's like, what do we do with those people that are now disenfranchised?
I totally agree. We still need to continue that outreach, but the big thing that happened was the taxpayers pay for all this stuff, and they were not in favor of what's going on. The other thing was accessibility. It was supposed to be for people with. It's not just black people, which was all this was. There was none. There was nothing done. And so to me, and I'm biased on that one because I have a son in a wheelchair. It's like so anyway. But the other thing, the voters have spoken. Commissioner Preston is gone, and that's one of the reasons is because of these programs that have been started that aren't performing. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, and you know we're going to differ on that, and that's one thing where it's out there now. So I feel like Dr. Hogan was valuable in the community in a lot of different ways. So my question is, with the dissolution of DEI, are there any plans to retain him?
I'm just speaking for myself. I had Terry Hogan at my lake cabin, and he's a great guy. And so I hope we do. But I don't believe the DEI. There's lots of things that were started that we will continue. But as far as having a whole department on that, I don't support that. But I hope we figure out some way to have Terry continue, because I got to know him as a person and his wife and family, and he's a really good man without a doubt.
So one of the things is, can you lay out, like I say, you can have an issue, but bring a solution, right? And so in the terms of DEI being eliminated, what can we look for in the future that for the people that think that DEI was a good thing? I mean, something specific where we could say, okay, I get it. This is how they're going to improve. Because eliminating something without a plan, without a backup plan, I mean, we talk football, right? And we would never go in a game plan with just one game plan. We have contingencies. So what are the contingencies now that we're eliminating DEI?
There is a lot of things that we will continue that they started. One of them is the Juneteenth. There's funding for some of these, and the Martin Luther King Jr. Day where we recognize people. So there was a lot of things like that. But the other thing is, holistic as a city, we have to make sure everyone feels welcome. However, when we're hiring for the city, we hire based on merit, not feelings, and we have to continue that. That's just me. And when you start spending public money, you have to, that's how it has to be.
Well, I just asked about the specific. I mean, Juneteenth and stuff like that, I would hope that would continue. But one of the things that's happened in our community, and I can tell you that during the George Floyd thing and shortly thereafter, and it's become more and more, is that there's a lack of accessibility for a lot of different people in this community.
Like,
And
what do you mean by lack of accessibility?
Well, I dealt with a young man that called me, and he had some issues with law enforcement. And he called the police department. He couldn't get an answer. He called City Hall. He couldn't get an answer. And he was referred to me, okay? And even when I called, the mechanism by which he got helped was me basically walking in cold to the police station and then sitting there for a half hour. Now, this is daunting for citizens that don't understand how to move within the system.
Yep.
And Dr. Hogan was saw as an advocate for those people.
Yep.
And it doesn't exist. And so the question becomes, how do we do that? Go ahead.
I do agree. We have some serious issues with our police department. With the whole, it's become a very closed group. To give you an example, communications department now answers any question. Like if you contact them, that's a very no, even for me. And now all the radio stations, they used to be able to talk to the police on site. Now there is no comment. It is all controlled.
Oh, I know.
No, that's a huge. So I would say there's lots of issues, and I totally agree with that.
Well, my thing is that we're losing a voice.
I agree
in a big way, and there's a gap, and I don't hear anything coming out of the city that says we're going to meet the needs of all citizens. And I mean, I had veterans that were staunchly behind DEI, and even they were saying, you know, now where's our voice? So anyway, Big Game James says we're up against the break, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk more with Commissioner Dave Kopech. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000.
and one of them got hurt. So
Welcome back to Talk of the Town. I'm here with Commissioner Pepcorn. I've got people texting me, "You're not talking to Kolpeck, you dummy." But that's the beauty of this show. People that know me know that there are times when I get my own kids' names wrong and I forget who my wife is. So you know what? Don't be offended if I call you Commissioner Kolpeck. The point is you're here. I'm glad you're here. So, you know, we hear a lot about hiring people based on experience, based on merit and stuff like that. And it's funny because I have kids that have recently found jobs. And there's always if you don't have experience because you don't have a job, how do you get experience? How do you do that? That's the first point. The second point is I've heard a lot of people say, well, you know, we want to make sure that we don't hire people just because, okay? And with the abolishment of affirmative action by the Supreme Court, there was a reason that we had that. And it's funny because somehow DEI has become synonymous with affirmative action. And so you've mentioned it twice. Well, we don't feel like we have to. DEI doesn't say you have to. It says this is to produce the best possible outcome. And the second part of that is qualified applicants, okay? Now, we have two commissioners that have less than whatever for experience, less than qualified. Dr. Kolpeck, really? Commissioner Kolpeck, it's a source of pride that she's learning how to be a commissioner. And after 2 years, I'm like, how long are you going to be in class? Well, the point is, on the one hand, we talk about how we want to make sure that we get the best people, and we want to make sure this, and this, but yet in the city, there aren't many people that we don't represent who now lives in Fargo. And so that disconnect is huge.
that's very true. And I do think we need to do a better job of that. And another example is internships. We should be doing more to get people involved in the city, and that's a good way, because an internship is a good way to gain some experience and then get involved.
Well, me being me, my question is, why didn't this happen 4 years ago? Why are we just now talking about this is how we should do things? Where's the actionable portion of our government?
I agree. No, I would have supported that. I support that now. So, but I'm one vote.
So then what you're saying is that you'll author legislation upcoming that supports these things?
I would happily do that, but I will remind you, so the past, 4 years for sure, it's been a 4-1 on most things where I've gotten outvoted, so I've been in the extreme minority.
Well, welcome to the club. Sorry about that, people. I say what I say, I do what I do. But my problem is that I think we're 8 years behind where we should be in terms of our city. Okay?
Yep.
We should not be talking about things that should have happened. Okay? I was going to talk about the diversion.
No, that's good.
And what a kerfuffle. Oh, no, I'm not. Don't worry, I'm going to hit all the points. But I'm bothered by how much we aren't getting things done. And we're talking about what we should do. And I have you here. Now, you understand that I called you the ringleader off air, right?
Yes.
Because you've been in the city a long time.
Yep.
And so I'm going to pivot a little bit to the budget.
Yep.
Every year that you've been in the city commission, the budget has gone up by at least 5%.
Absolutely.
And it's like, what? At some point, we got to balance this thing. You know, we talk about the cuts that we're going to make. I'm still looking at the communications department and wondering, how is that not the first thing that we cut in half?
I totally support it. And going back to this, I voted against the budget last year. I'm in the minority, and so I'm a fiscal conservative. But you have to go back and look. It's so easy to be generous with other people's money because it's an unending open checkbook. But you know what the good news is, you can't do anything about the past. But this year, for the first time ever, we're going to reduce spending in the city of Fargo for the first time. And so that's great news.
At what cost? Because
at what cost?
Well,
no, it's going to be huge because the taxpayers of Fargo have had enough of the open checkbook, good intentions. Let's spend on this and that. The property taxes in Fargo are out of control, and people on fixed incomes are finally saying, I can't afford to live here anymore.
And so, you know, along those lines, I always talk about the 70%. with inflation, the 70% that are struggling to just live what we call the American dream.
Yep.
And so then I look at Fargo, and then we have those people, we'll call them dreamers, and then we have what we call the campers. And then we have the people that benefit from the engagement center, okay? And so with the elimination of DEI in the engagement center, all right, those are two things where that's a certain segment of our population that is now going to be adrift, okay? And now I understand that the engagement center was basically funded through COVID money, okay? So go ahead.
But now that all that is falling on the taxpayers of Fargo, the Downtown Engagement Center, and the Downtown Engagement Center serves the region. So how is that the taxpayers of Fargo are paying for all that for the whole region? And the bottom line is we can't afford to do that anymore. That's just not and the people of Fargo have had enough. And so in the November election, we have a half-cent we have a sales tax for the Fargo Dome, we have a sales tax for the hotel and lodging, and then we have a sales tax for the firefighters union, on top of the mayor proposing an increase in the mills. It's like the taxpayers of Fargo are saying we are being suffocated to death, and they've had enough.
But we
can't afford
we get to vote on all those, right?
Absolutely.
And I think it's interesting. I can't wait to see the vote.
Right.
I like the fact that the firefighter tax is on there, because the people are going to speak on how they're being taxed. My problem is that what we have currently, is there's a lot of stuff coming out that doesn't sound like solutions, okay? And that's from, I've tried to get the mayor on this show dang near 5 times, and every time I see him, he goes, hey, yeah, no problem. But every time I do whatever paperwork I got to get to do it, it doesn't happen, And I'm not out here to roast you, but these are questions. There are plenty of people in this community. We have 30,000 immigrants and minorities that feel like they've been slighted, okay? Add on to that the people that use the engagement center, okay? Now that's almost 1/3 of the population or something like that. Remember, I was a C student in math, so if I'm off, that's what we're addressing. And so you're on here, I want you to speak to them and tell them how it's going to be better for them going forward with the elimination of these things.
Well, I'm a public servant in the city of Fargo, and our priorities are public safety. That's fire, that's police, that's snow removal, that's garbage, that's water. We have gotten into all this stuff that is not fundamental responsibilities of city government. We've gotten to all these social programs. That's not our job. And so what's happened is all these things have taken money from our core responsibilities, which is police and fire. That stuff, that should be the #1 funded thing, period. All this stuff, it's easy to be generous. If you give me your checkbook, I'll start writing stuff and be the most generous guy. But we got to quit spending money on all this stuff that we can't afford anymore. And that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would like to see us quit giving all these tax rebates and incentives away, because businesses are going to come whether we do that or not.
Here's where we're going to disagree. I'm a chair of the Economic Development Investment Committee, where that's tax incentives. Mm-hmm. Those tax incentives, if you want to go and look at the facts, I'll happily go with you sometime if you want to meet. The tax incentives that we've given out to businesses, mm-hmm. at the minimum, pay themselves over hundreds of times. Some of them thousands of percent return. So the incentives to blame all these other things on that, it's the opposite. Those tax incentives bring in millions of dollars in additional tax.
I would love for you to have that. I would love for you to bring it, because this is one of the the How come we're giving all these incentives to businesses?
Okay.
Wait a second. Now I
hey man, if you want an athlete, if you want to go back and forth, that's what you do.
Well, no, but yeah, that's what you do. At the same time, the issue of tax breaks is a big deal.
Absolutely.
Okay? Especially for me as a homeowner and everything that I'm taxed on. It's like, wait a minute. If we have enough money to do what we need to do, and we're spending responsibly, then all the needs of the community that can be met. That's one of my pet peeves is we talk about, well, these are the essential things for government, right? Government needs to serve all the citizens, you know? And I think there are some social programs that need to be eliminated. At the same time, what is the fastest way that we can alleviate the burden on people that are paying their taxes?
I'm just telling
Go
you,
ahead.
the tax incentives on, especially the business ones that we do, they pay themselves back hundreds of times over.
Okay, how does that? Okay, so now we're going to get into a little education. How does that? Tell me how that works.
So to give you an example, there's let's see, what can I use? The Roco ramp. Do you know where that is? The Roberts Commons. Anyway, so that was a flat parking lot for 50 years. It was paying maybe $300 a year in taxes. Now it's a multi-million-dollar parking ramp with apartments, and it pays. I can't remember I'll come back with the exact.
No,
number.
but the point is that it makes money. So that's great. So that's great.
But
so
that
I have
brings
to
in-
ask you, because one of my talking points has been parking ramps don't make money. You know, and I talked about the fact that we're building 3. We got the airport. We've got all these parking ramps going in, and they're not money makers. Is that a fact? Because I've repeated that, and if I'm wrong, you could go ahead and tell me, because these are the talking points.
So I just randomly picked that.
Well,
the
that one.
Roco is one of those parking ramps.
Okay.
So the few $100s that it paid in property taxes before that, now when you go back, it's thousands of times that. And so the tax incentive that we gave will maybe go 15 or 20 years. After that, in perpetuity, it will pay additional property taxes thousands of times more than it would have been as a flat parking lot.
So then these other parking ramps will be at least that affordable.
The mercantile, yeah, no, that's the model that we've. It's unbelievable.
Okay. So there you have it. For the first time in 3 years, I've been wrong. No. Ask my wife. No, but here's the thing, and I say this when I say things on the radio that I believe and they're incorrect, people should challenge that. And so that's one of the things. Well, guess what? And if anybody has anything different, please call in and share that. So now we're going to move forward. We talk about law enforcement, okay? Well, we're not going to talk about law enforcement because Big Game James says we're up against the break. When we come back, we'll have more with Commissioner Pepcorn. Thank you. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Welcome back to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. James on the wheels of steel, serving up some good vibes. So I'm here with Commissioner Pepcorn, and we've had discussions about DEI. We had discussions about the budget. We've had discussions about parking ramps that do, in fact, bring a return, which I've been diametrically opposed to money that lands on the taxpayers after the fact, you know? In terms of going forward, we talk about moving forward. What can the people that I call the disenfranchised, where can they hang their hat on this city commission?
Well, I think the main thing is, as a city commission, we represent everybody. So if you have an issue, contact me anytime and I'll help you. But as far as we hire based on merit, that's how it should be.
So I have a problem that last year we hired an assistant administrator at $200,000 plus. And it's my contention that we could have got some fresh-faced kid out of college with an MBA or a master's, and we could have hired them at $150,000, but yet we're hiring on merit and looking at those qualifications. It looked to me, I could be wrong, and that's why I'm asking, but it looks to me like we could have hired somebody way more qualified than the person that currently holds that position.
I agree with you. I do think we can do a better job of making sure that we are indeed hiring the person based on merit, but also spending money wisely.
Question is, why didn't we? You know, the other question is,
I'm not in charge. If I was the mayor, I would do things much differently.
Well, we might as well get to that. So you plan on running for mayor, Commissioner?
It's 20 months from now, and so I would say it's a little premature, but I would say I'm being encouraged to. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, you're being encouraged to. So, all right. So as mayor, how would you handle the concerns that I have? And so here's my thing. The city commission meetings, that time where citizens got to speak, okay? It went from a kerfuffle to now, hey, we've got to have regulations, we've got to have rules. Some of them, I still don't understand if you're there to speak why you need to bring a sign, you know? Yeah. But at the same time, that's a place where citizens got to voice their concerns. They got to bring it forth in a way that allows people to speak, and it seems like that's been muffled. Now, you saw what happened yesterday in the West Fargo City Commission.
I didn't. We had our own city commission. Man.
Okay, well, go back and look at it. But the level of disconnectedness that people feel with that city commission based on what happened with the Garden Center, the Garden City Center, or whatever it's called.
Yep.
It seems like nobody's listening in government. Okay? So, by the way, I was going to ask you, did you vote for term limits?
I am in favor of term limits. It never came up for a vote that I've ever voted on.
Don't we have term limits in the state of North Dakota?
We do, and on the city commission we have term limits. So so term limits for the city commission is 3 terms, and then you're done. Yeah,
that's what, 12 years?
Yep.
Yeah, that's too long. I think 6 years. I think 6 years would be fine. But no. I believe that you need to have turnover. We
do have term limits in Fargo for the commission and the mayor.
I think we need to adjust those, but that's my opinion.
Well, no, so, you can bring it up for a resolution, but we do have term limits, and you can propose whatever. That's the public can bring forward proposals anytime.
Yeah, we can. My brain just shut down. So again, I was asking. So as mayor, how would you address those things, the concerns that I have? You know, we talk about law enforcement, we talk about public safety all the time, and I looked at it, and so my background allows me to say that I do think that we have good law enforcement in this town, and you only need to have lived someplace else. It's not perfect. We have our issues, but I see that that's one area of the city that I really think we're trying hard to get it right, okay? But when it comes to these social programs, okay, when it comes to meeting the needs, we're basically saying that's not our responsibility, okay? And it's like, if it affects, I'll give you an example. We have these campers. We have a homeless situation downtown. We have vagrants. If I'm a business owner downtown, I'm upset because I poured all this money into a business and people aren't shopping there. Well,
There-
that's a city problem.
I agree. And what's happening now, businesses are closing, businesses are leaving downtown because the customers are afraid to go downtown. The homeless, it isn't just, it's that whole thing downtown is making people afraid. We've spent millions of dollars on the Renaissance zone of the downtown, and now it's going the exact opposite. And so what we did last night, that ordinance, I guarantee you, it would have solved the problem, but we have leadership that doesn't want that to happen. And so what's going to happen? We've had murders, rapes, assaults, illegal drug use, you name it. It's on, and it's going on right now. And yet that's last night we basically passed an ordinance and then basically gutted it. And so that's the leadership we have right now. That's what happened. The ordinance prohibits camping, period. And what they did was said, accept all these exceptions. So it's not going to improve. And the Downtown Engagement Center, that attracts what's driving people away. And if that's what you want out from your downtown, that's what the current leadership wants.
Well, I think that, first of all, I think it was put in the wrong spot. I think
Of course it was.
We could have done a better job at it. And this is perfect. These are some of the problems that I have. Is we do things, and then the afterthought is, why do we do that? You know, it drives me crazy that the amount of money that
but this was done intentionally. The leadership we have right now, having vagrants and camping along the river, that's what they want. The Downtown Engagement Center, that's what they want. They want this to happen.
Because
you should ask the mayor, ask John Strand, ask Commissioner Kolpak, why do you want this? How is this a positive for downtown Fargo?
Well, I think that they're trying to meet the need of a certain segment of the population.
How about meeting the needs of the taxpayers and the law-abiding citizens of Fargo by having a safe downtown that's clean instead of murders, rapes, making it afraid for people to go downtown?
I agree, but I think we need to meet those needs that we need. You talked about all citizens. So my question is, could we, what? Oh, sorry about that. So my question is, why aren't we coming up with better solutions? This is what we vote for, is better solutions. So when this thing is being voted on, we recognize that we need to have an engagement center. Why couldn't we pick a better location? Why aren't we working for solutions instead of the back and forth?
I don't agree that we need a downtown engagement center.
Well, I didn't say downtown. I said we need an engagement center.
Why? Why do we need that?
Because we need to meet the needs of those people that are using those services. Those people don't count.
So the taxpayers of Fargo have to keep providing the regional. You think that's fair? That's who pays for this.
As a taxpayer, I feel like I have an obligation.
Well,
okay,
so I don't.
So it's no different than
I don't want my property taxes to go up to pay for a downtown engagement center to draw people that wreck our downtown. How is that? That's
again. I think it was poorly implemented, poorly conceived.
Well, that's what. All right.
Big Game James says we're up against the break, so when we come back, we're going to continue talking about this. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Welcome back to Talking Town with Commissioner Kolpak. I got to say, this is, oh my God.
It's all good.
I'm going to get you a sticky note.
You know what? I don't know why I have Commissioner Kolpak on my brain today, but it just is. But I want to appreciate, first of all, I want to say thank you for being patient with me, for calling you Commissioner Kolpak.
It's all good.
All this time, and I almost said Dr. Pepcorn.
That's all good.
I'm off today. I don't have my usual stuff, but I think part of it is that my brain is racing because there's so much I want to get to and so many answers that I want you to answer and be able to tell people. Now, you're not in favor of government support of individuals, and you're a pull yourself up by your bootstraps type of guy, and so it's like I'm a person who benefited from a lot of the programs that you're talking about we don't need.
Yep.
And that's why my passion lies there, because we had JCs, we had, I grew up poor. Both of my parents were disabled. So when I hear a commissioner talking like that, it gives me pause, because without these things in place, Jon Adams wouldn't be where he is.
Yep.
And I've always thought of the city of Fargo is, it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter your station in life. If you're hardworking, you're a good person. I've seen people reach out to me and say, hey, I want to help you. What do you need? When I started my first business, I had people in the community say, hey, this is how you do it.
Yep.
And so when I hear a city leader say, well, that's not our responsibility, as a person who's come from that, I'm like, that's exactly what I think our responsibility is. Because even the people that are out there that are struggling are still paying taxes,
Yep.
So that's something that, as a citizen, it concerns me, because I think that, we do have an obligation, and we differ there. But more than that, again, what can we look forward to in the next year that says we're on the right track? Now, I looked at the city budget, and the COLA was the thing that I saw most affected by the changes to the budget that happened, okay? And we talk about trying to attract and retain new people for the city of Fargo. Those two things don't add up. And so to me, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of lip service paid to this stuff. And if I'm a city employee and I looked at my COLA was going to be this and now it's less, I'm going to feel some type of way about that.
I think the employees of the city of Fargo are compensated very well. And I think the taxpayers are being overtaxed. And for 15 years, we've just been continuously increasing spending. And this year we're not. And so I represent the taxpayers of Fargo, and I'm a public servant, and I'm tired of just never-ending increases, and so are they. And so we're gonna reduce spending. The COLA, here's the thing about the COLA that this is gonna be some breaking news. I don't approve of this percentage. To give you an example, if you're a $50,000 employee and you get a 3% increase, it's $1,500. If you're a $150,000 employee, it's $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Does that seem like a good thing? Doesn't to me. We should have a flat number for all employees, maybe 2,000, maybe 3,000. So but that's going to be my proposal. We're not going to do a percentage.
So you've been here for 15 years. How come this hasn't been proposed? This isn't new.
Because I've been in the minority the whole time. And for the past 4 years, it was 4-1. Mm-hmm. Now we have 2. And in 20 months, we're going to have more than 2. And once we have a majority, it's going to change in the blink of an eye. And there's going to be a whole lot of drastic changes.
Well, I'm glad that you're coming out. Good luck with your race for mayor. And, it's something that I'm glad that you're being so forthright in what you think. And at least you're here and you're talking about it. And it's funny because I hear there are sides to the city government, okay? And it sounds to me like you feel like you've just been waiting so that you can enact programs that you think help the city. And I think that's commendable. At the same time, I think that we're eliminating a certain segment of the population, okay? And I think those people that have 2 jobs and they're scraping by to make it work and are paying taxes, and you're eliminating some of those services they might need. You talked about the elimination or the reduction of the budget of the health department.
Yep.
Let's talk about that, because the very people that I'm talking about are the people that use that.
So what happened with the health department during COVID expanded because of all the things that were going on. Once again, that was federal money. What happened was the federal money has gone away and the staff has stayed. And so we have to reduce the number of employees. Otherwise, the taxpayers of Fargo have to pay that. So that's good. I would say the communications department also needs to be drastically reduced. I think you and I agree on that. So, and like you said, across the board, there's potential for reductions in spending.
Yeah, like I said during the break, I said if I'm getting a hold of every city director and telling them you need to cut by 1 or 2%. You need to get under budget by 1 or 2%. Now we have a balanced budget.
Yep.
If my numbers hold, I could be wrong. So that's the first thing, is that starting looking at these things and spreading it across the board. If we did that instead of eliminating departments that the community thinks is essential, I just want better ideas coming out of government.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that hasn't happened, and I'm looking forward now, because you seem to think you have the majority of things are going to be different. I hope you come back on the show. I'm glad that you came on the show. I'm glad that we had this time together, and I hope that you come back on the show. This is Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. So we've had a discussion, and we don't agree on everything, but this is the dialogue that we need to have. This is the bottom line. And we were able to be civil to each other for the most part. And I promised I wouldn't talk about the fact that he and we went to college at the same time in this city. So maybe next time we'll talk about that. This is Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day. And as always, stay black.